In the world of Donald Trump's political theater, nothing is quite as constant as his ability to spin a narrative of victory, even when there's absolutely no substantive change to back it up. Recently, the former president tried to claim a major diplomatic win after a phone call with the newly elected Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum. Trump made bold claims that Sheinbaum had agreed to stop migration through Mexico, effectively shutting down the southern border to migrants. But there's a catch. His assertion was met with an immediate and public rebuttal from Sheinbaum herself, who set the record straight, asserting that Mexico had already been doing what Trump was falsely taking credit for. In a masterclass of political manipulation, Trump continues to create an illusion of triumph, using clever public statements and strategic rhetoric to make it appear as if he is achieving monumental results, even when the facts tell a different story. This video will take a deep dive into how Trump's border bluff was immediately shot down by Sheinbaum, who clarified that Mexico was already addressing the border issue well before his self-congratulatory claims. But this is not just about the border. This issue reveals a much larger problem in Trump's approach to politics, his reliance on optics over actual results. In contrast, the Biden administration, which has passed significant legislation like the Infrastructure Bill, the CHIPS Act, and the PACT Act, has struggled to communicate those successes to the American public. Meanwhile, Trump has mastered the art of public relations, often spinning nothing into a win, and in this case, it's no different. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to reaching 5,000 subscribers, but we can't do it without you. So, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe right now. And if you're already subscribed, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment to let me know your thoughts. Alright, let's dive right into it. Trump's border bluff, the tariff threat. Trump's recent comments about Mexico's border security were not just bold, they were completely divorced from reality. As part of his relentless push to portray himself as a strong leader on immigration, Trump released a statement in which he claimed that Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum had agreed to stop migration through Mexico and effectively close the southern border. He even framed the conversation as a victory for himself, saying, "Mexico will stop people from going to our southern border effective immediately." These comments were made just days after Trump had threatened to impose a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada, demanding that they do more to curb illegal immigration and drug trafficking. Trump's tariff threat is part of a long-standing strategy that centers around the use of financial leverage to get his way. During his presidency, Trump imposed tariffs on numerous countries, citing them as a necessary tool to protect American jobs and industries. His tariff policy, however, was often criticized for its negative impact on the American economy, particularly with rising consumer prices. The proposed tariffs on Mexico and Canada were no exception. If Trump were to follow through on his threats, the cost of everyday goods, especially food and fuel, would undoubtedly rise. But these economic consequences were secondary to Trump's need to create a narrative of strength and success. Trump's tweet, like many others, was designed to give the impression of a decisive victory, one that would rally his base and make it seem as though he had outmaneuvered the Mexican government. He positioned himself as the champion of border security, creating an illusion that the problem was being solved due to his forceful negotiations. In reality, the situation was far more nuanced. Claudia Sheinbaum's rebuttal, setting the record straight. As we would expect from any world leader worth their salt, Sheinbaum quickly fired back with a sharp and decisive rebuttal. The newly elected president of Mexico had no intention of letting Trump's false narrative slide without clarification. In a statement, Sheinbaum pointed out that Mexico had already been addressing the issue of migration and drugs long before Trump's threats, stating, "You may not be aware that Mexico has developed a comprehensive policy to assist migrants from different parts of the world who cross our territory en route to the southern border of the United States." Sheinbaum's response highlights the core of the issue. While Trump was trying to claim credit for a non-existent deal, Mexico had already been dealing with the border issue for months. The Mexican government had enacted policies that aimed to curb migration flows, including agreements with the Biden administration to cooperate on border security. In fact, migration levels at the southern border were already dropping, not because of Trump's claims, but due to policies that were already in place. According to data from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, encounters at the U.S.-Mexico border decreased by 75% between December 2023 and November 2024. Moreover, Sheinbaum's position was clear. Mexico was not going to close the border, as Trump had falsely stated. She was simply reaffirming that Mexico had been working independently to curb illegal immigration and reduce the flow of migrants traveling to the U.S. southern border. Trump's claims, which were crafted to make it seem like he had negotiated a major policy change, were quickly dismantled by Sheinbaum's level-headed response. She made it clear that not only was she not going to close the border, but she had already been implementing policies to address the root causes of migration. This included addressing poverty, violence, and the social conditions in Central America that push people to migrate north. The disconnect: Trump's narrative versus reality. While Trump's narrative was designed to play to his base's desire for tough, no-nonsense leadership, it also glossed over the real-world complexities of immigration policy. He portrayed Sheinbaum as acquiescing to his demands, but the truth was much different. Mexico had already been doing its part to address the migration crisis, and Trump's threats of tariffs were simply a political maneuver to create the appearance of leverage. This is where Trump's leadership style becomes a problem. His political strategy revolves around optics, not substance. He is more interested in creating the illusion of progress than in actually achieving it. This constant spinning of narratives, even when they have little basis in reality, is what keeps his base fired up. It's what allows him to claim victories, even in the absence of tangible outcomes. But as Sheinbaum's response shows, this approach is not sustainable. Eventually, the truth comes out, and when it does, it often undermines the credibility of those who rely on spin. On the other hand, President Joe Biden and his administration have faced a different set of challenges. While Biden passed landmark pieces of legislation like the Infrastructure Bill, the CHIPS Act, and the PACT Act, he has struggled to communicate these accomplishments effectively to the public. The contrast between Biden's substantive achievements and Trump's empty claims could not be starker. While Biden's agenda is built on actual policies that benefit the American people, Trump's agenda is built on narratives that sound good but lack substance. The political consequences of Trump's spin. Trump's ongoing reliance on spin has broader political consequences. It creates an environment where facts become secondary to the perception of reality. This can be particularly dangerous when it comes to international diplomacy, where credibility and trust are paramount. By constantly creating false narratives of victory, Trump risks alienating allies and undermining the trust needed for effective diplomacy. In the case of his conversation with Sheinbaum, Trump's bluster may have temporarily given him a boost with his supporters, but it also highlighted the dangers of his approach. Sheinbaum's response was a clear reminder that Mexico will not be bullied into submission. Sheinbaum's rejection of Trump's narrative also sent the message to the broader international community that Trump's diplomacy is more about public posturing than actual results. Donald Trump's recent claims about a major diplomatic victory regarding immigration and his threat to impose tariffs on Mexico and Canada were quickly debunked by Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. Despite Trump's efforts to spin a narrative of success, Sheinbaum made it clear that Mexico had already been working to address the issues of migration and drug trafficking long before Trump's posturing. Trump's political strategy relies on creating the illusion of success, even when little to no progress is made. This is a stark contrast to President Biden's approach, which has yielded significant legislative wins, but struggles to communicate those successes to the public. In the end, Trump's rhetoric may energize his base, but it also alienates key international partners and undermines the trust needed for effective diplomacy. The clash between Trump's border bluff and Sheinbaum's reality check serves as a reminder that, in the world of politics, substance always matters more than spin. While Trump's narrative may dominate headlines, it is the real-world results, or lack thereof, that will ultimately shape his legacy. And when the dust settles, it will be clear that Trump's biggest win is often the one he creates in his own mind.